Welcome back, guys. So as this conversation around Chet Holmgren keeps getting louder, especially with voices like Kendrick Perkins, Stephen A. Smith, and everybody on ESPN debate shows throwing out wild ideas, the pressure around him keeps growing. We're hearing people say trade him for Giannis, shake the roster up, make a blockbuster move. I even saw people recently throwing around the idea that LeBron James could somehow end up in OKC with Chet being moved out. But here's the thing. Chet is clearly the player people keep putting on the chopping block, and throughout this series, it honestly looked like he was second-guessing himself way too much. The only times he really seemed to create momentum were during stretches when Wemby went to the bench, and that becomes a real problem when you consider how much talent and depth OKC had dealing with injuries and pressure throughout this series, because this wasn't easy basketball. This was physical, exhausting, and hard-fought from start to finish, so naturally, you expected Chet to step up in some way, show more aggression, show more value, and remind everyone why he matters this much to the franchise. But when Victor Wembanyama was on the floor, hold up, that impact just never consistently showed up. Now the real question becomes this: do you actually move on from a player who helped you win a championship the previous season and played a huge role in getting there? Or are people completely overreacting? Because it is worth thinking about. You literally won with him last year. He had a rough season, sure, and lately these Wembley matchups have looked ugly, and I think that's what people are really focusing on. Because as Wemby added more strength and more muscle this season, the matchups started looking very different. He struggled with him. He's really struggled with him. Earlier in their careers, it looked a lot more competitive, but now, you won't believe this, the gap between them looks way more obvious than before. Now we're going to hear from Jerome Randle. I respect his channel a lot. He's got some strong points he's about to bring up. I'll put his @ in the video, so definitely go check him out. Let's get into it.
Handle. Man, message to players, especially like NBA players, the young players that's coming up. Never allow the good things said about you to get you so high, mentality-wise. Because as much as they build you up, you know, they can break you down. And I'm specifically talking about Chet Holmgren, right? Like, he's been doing so well to the point where they won a championship last year. And now that this series was bad, and not take away the fact that they #1 seed, they're playing good all year, no one had anything to say, and he runs into someone who's actually on the up and up. At what point do you allow and do you accept the fact that it's other great NBA players out here that just got your number? That doesn't mean that he needs to be traded. That doesn't mean that you need to get rid of him. He's an all-star. It's like all these different things that's happening, you know, with players. It's almost like you cannot be outplayed. Understand that somebody got to be outplayed. And at the end of the day, yeah, that team was better at this point. You know, OKC was missing a couple players or whatever the case is, but yo, I think the only thing I can say about Chet is that he second-guessed a lot. He picked up his dribble too much, and he needs to be able to keep his rhythm a lot more against Wemby. I don't think it's an urgency of him being traded because of what happened in this series. Nah, bro. And if that's the case, then it shows the disloyalty, you know, of what I've done and, you know, how I helped the team get over the hump to win the championship, being one of the youngest teams, if not the youngest team in the NBA. And now things don't go the way that we wanted to go. Now I'm trading them. I see Perk talking about it. Stephen A., he always talking about it. They sell with a lot of things, but at the end of the day, y'all, come on, man. Come on. You can't tell me that, Perk, you wasn't outplayed, or, you know, so many people is outplayed in the game of basketball. That's why it's the NBA. That's why you're going to have so many games where people going to get the best of you. You're going to get the best of them. And unfortunately, this was a series where Wemby got the best of them. And that's okay. But he has an opportunity to go through the summer and get himself right. He needs to prepare for him, because everybody else in the league, he do a good job with. You might get somebody to outplay you, out-rebound you, whatever the case is, but this was a flat-out, I'm better than you type situation. That's the beauty of basketball. When you have a moment like this, you got to go back to the drawing board. And the summertime gotta be, yo, I am coming to attack you. You're my focal point. Because if I can get over the mental hump with you, everybody else, it's a cakewalk. Because right now, you at the pinnacle right now. And that's Wemby I'm talking about. Wemby has established himself as probably being the best player in the league, but I'm still not ready to even put him on over Jokic right now, just because he's playing well. Jokic is still a force to be reckoned with. People keep forgetting, just because things go left, people be quick to just jump off the bandwagon of other great players. I don't know about that. I think Wemby and Jokic right now is neck to neck. Jokic right now, team just wasn't as good. They wasn't as good. Wemby got a long way to go, but Wemby is coming, bro. And it's almost to the point where when he's there, it's like, it's gonna be tough for anybody to stop what he got coming, because you see it. But trading Chet, I think that's a little far-fetched. He ain't ready to be traded right now. I think mentally he was broke. And that's okay. At some point, whether good players want to believe it or not, somebody got you at some point. And that's why we continue to work and do what we do. That's why we love the game, because the preparation and how we get better over the summertime. You look at this as a learning curve, learning experience, and you go get to the gym, bro, in the summertime and get ready for next season. That's it. Look at everybody else is at the crib chilling. Ain't talking about them. I don't think it is that serious to talk in that way because somebody got the best of you, bro. Like, that's what basketball is. Sometimes your shot's not gonna fall. Sometimes it's just gonna be a different type of luck for other people. Luck does play a part in the game of basketball. Y'all need to understand that and believe that. But trade it? Come on, man. Y'all can do better than that.
Now, as a former player who suited up for Cal and was a legit high-level college guard, Jerome Randle brings a perspective a lot of people overlook. Some of you probably remember him, and honestly, the biggest reason he never had a long NBA career wasn't skill. It was big. At 5'9", that climb becomes tough no matter how talented you are, but this guy had real ability. Built a strong overseas career, played in the G League, and definitely earned respect through his journey. And with that background, I actually agree with several points he made. Because when you have a young player inside an organization known for development and maximizing talent, the question becomes simple. What exactly is the long-term plan for him? When Chet got drafted, this is where I personally started paying attention. I looked at his shoulders, and right away, I questioned whether he could realistically add weight the same way Wemby has. Because when I look at skinny big men, one thing I always watch is shoulder width. Shoulder-to-shoulder frame matters because it tells you a lot about how much muscle a player can naturally carry. And with Chet, it always felt like adding major size might be harder because of his build. That's why I always thought this could eventually become an issue. And honestly, I expected these two players to slowly separate over time. Because while Chet has struggled adding size, Wemby keeps doing the opposite. Victor's adding 20 pounds at a time during off-seasons, adding good weight, keeping mobility, getting stronger, looking more explosive, and becoming more physical every year. That's something I always kept my eye on. And I also agree with Jerome on another point. The media loves building players up just so they can tear them back down. That's just how the cycle works, because some of these same people criticizing Chet now were praising him non-stop last season. At the same time though, and Jerome admitted this too, Chet looked overwhelmed at times. He looked like a deer in headlights. He was picking up his dribble too early. And once you become a thinking player instead of a reacting player, especially against somebody like Victor, pros notice immediately. They can feel hesitation. They can see fear. They notice the lack of confidence. They notice when you stop attacking. They notice when you stop trusting your game. And once defenders sense that, they attack it. So honestly, I do think he put himself in a position where people were always going to talk about him this way. Even the post-game responses didn't really help, because going 1 for 2 in a game that is important just can't happen. When your team is missing bodies, when expectations are this high, and when you're making that kind of money, you have to be more aggressive. At some point, you have to become more than just a lob threat. Because we all see the off-season clips, we see the workouts with KD, we see the bag work, the reverse pivots, scoop finishes, and step-back threes all look great in controlled settings. But listen to this, the real question is whether those moves still work when defenders are physical, making you uncomfortable and forcing you out of rhythm, instead of letting you go through cone drills.
He needs more physical reps. He needs to spend this summer playing tougher basketball environments where guys are constantly testing him and making every possession uncomfortable. I still remember when he first came into the league and LeBron ran through him physically, and after that, injuries became part of the conversation for a long stretch. Didn't he miss almost his entire rookie season? He missed a lot of time, and moments like that show why strength matters so much for players built like him. So if I'm giving advice, I'm telling him to add as much functional strength as possible. Good muscles, not rushed muscle, not weight that costs him mobility, but enough strength this offseason to actually battle with Wemby physically. Keep him honest. Create counters. We're not asking Chet to become Victor Wembanyama. That expectation is unrealistic. But if you can consistently give your team 16-10, maybe 18-10, defend well, protect the paint, and stay impactful, people will respect that. Because listen to this, Wemby is giving problems to almost everybody. Nobody's really mad that Victor is winning those matchups, but what people will judge is whether you're maximizing the things you can control. Because if not, these conversations are only going to get louder. And unfortunately for Chet, he's put himself directly in the middle of those conversations because OKC has assets, a lot of assets. Enough assets to seriously explore bringing in somebody else if they think they need more size, more physicality, or another player capable of matching Wemby as he keeps evolving. So you start wondering, are they looking at bigger moves? Are names like Mobley or Giannis part of those conversations? Are they considering somebody like the big prospect out of Michigan just to throw more size at the matchup? I honestly don't know, because even if you add size, you still need someone who can move laterally enough to survive against Wemby, and that's why this whole situation gets complicated. But I want to know what you guys think down below. Are people overreacting to Chet, or are these concerns completely fair? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, peace.